You are listening to the Monarch Files, your weekly breakdown of each episode of Monarch Legacy of Monsters, part of the Watching Now series on Couch Soup. Be sure to subscribe to keep up with all the monster action and like and comment with what you thought of this week's episode. On the task force this evening, we have Brandy.
Hello.
Lily.
Hello there.
And Alex is back. Hello, Alex.
Howdy.
Hello. And of course, I'm your host, Dan Morris. We are here for the final episode of Monarch Legacy of Monsters. We got the season finale today, and oh boy, I'm sure there's gonna be a lot of fun thoughts and opinions to share, good and bad. I think
a lot of different opinions.
A lot of varied opinions. So welcome back to Alex. Thank you, Lily and Brandy, for joining us for this last episode of the breakdown episodes. We will be doing a recap episode next week, I believe, and hopefully to go over the entire series and how we feel about it after it's all said and done now. But tonight we're talking about episode 10, Beyond Logic. Let's give our first non-spoiler first impressions.
Again, very, very emotional. There's a lot of snot crying for me. I'm sorry. That's all I'm going to say. Just snot cries.
I get it.
Just watch the episode.
Snot cry.
Mm-hmm.
That's it?
That's it. That's all I got for non-spoiler because I want to get into it. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Let's jump to Lily.
Was it titled Beyond Logic?
That's the title.
The
Yeah.
episode.
Mm-hmm.
It was.
It was.
Mhm.
Yeah. Of course.
In a salty way. Just so you all know what I mean.
Monsterverse is logical. There's no logic.
I can't.
Beyond logic lies truth.
I wasn't here last week, so but I wrote about my opinion on the last, the previous episode. I still feel that I'm lying. What the fuck? What was the point? And also, whoever created this, fuck you. Like, fuck you. Fucking Kurt Russell, what the fuck? That's it.
I think everyone was just mad that I picked up one of the biggest plot lines at the very beginning, and everybody were like, no.
I was kind of surprised that that's where it was. I was hoping it wasn't, but I don't know. It's kind of far for the course for these things.
So go ahead and tell us your first impression there, Alex, while we're on it.
Thank God it's over. I've been waiting for this thing to wrap up this entire time. Honestly, one of the biggest enjoyments of this entire thing has been hanging out with you guys, talking the times I've been on the show, because without that, I really just wanted this to be done and over. If it wasn't for this podcast, I probably wouldn't have watched it week by week.
Really?
I would have waited. Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, you did mention that before, that you would have waited until the whole thing came out and then just blasted through it in one go. It's fair. Yeah, so I think this was a good episode. All in all, there's definitely a lot of twists and turns and ways that we weren't expecting things to go. And I don't know. I'm going to pre-say I agree with most of everyone's salt, but at the same time, I had fun with it. So with that, let's get right on into our spoiler review of this week's episode. These show notes brought to you by Brandy.
Please don't read them.
I'm going to read them, and you're going to have to deal with it, Brandy.
And the audience is going to know exactly who wrote them.
That's right. So
they're that insane person right there.
It was probably pretty funny. I think they'll enjoy it. People will be like, why wasn't Brandy writing these all along? What the hell?
Yeah.
Episode starts where we left off, Kate looking up at Keiko. Cut to Tokyo. Kentaro and Hiroshi speaking with Kentaro, helping Hiroshi continue his work.
Please don't read it.
Well, I have to make sense out of them somehow. So,
well, you should have read them before.
Okay.
There you go.
Just kidding.
Hiroshi said maybe if Keiko?
Oh my
Shaw?
God, please stop reading it just word for word. You were so fired.
So anyways, well, let's start on that first scene. Let's back it up and start on the first scene. We start off with Kate looking at Keiko, and there's a little bit of who are you? No, who are you? Who are you? And of course, Kate realizes that, oh my God, this is my grandmother and she's still alive. I thought that was a cool scene. And there was a cool little Kate was just like, I don't know how to express myself right now or how to feel about this. Like, this is nuts.
Yeah, I mean, okay, I know a lot of people were like, what the fuck? Why? But I'm like, I liked Keiko as a character so much that I was like, I was kind of happy for her to be there. And I'm like, okay, it's batshit, and I'm loving it for that. It's stupid, silly, and I'm having fun. So it's fun. It's not anything I'm taking seriously. So
the show treads a weird line because in some ways
it's
like,
not taking itself too seriously, but it's trying to. I don't know.
That's kind of the whole reason it exists, right? Is to like ground everything else that's going on around it while also somehow leaning into this like
in a world where we have
It's
Godzilla
not-
versus Kong and Godzilla X Kong coming out in a couple of weeks. I don't
gonna
think
be
we can
nuts.
question what is weird and what's silly and what's not, because obviously
Right.
the whole Monsterverse is bonkers and stupid, but
It's
that's
just
the whole
weird
point.
to
It's
me
fun.
that like they really tried to make sure all the little plot pieces are together, and it's still just kind of like, don't worry about it. It's all fantasy nonsense, which great, fine. It's just weird how we got here.
What are your thoughts on Keiko's survival, Lily? You can keep it simple if you want. You don't have to go too deep.
It's so stupid. I was like, what? Like, like, first of all, they never shared like how the fuck did she survive? Like, those bug things just basically grabbed her. It looked like that they're gonna eat her, but somehow she survived.
It was a
that.
soft, cushioned fall
Through
on
a
top
hole.
of the bugs.
Come on. It's like it's like how it went. Like, I think I mentioned in one of the previous episodes, it's like the problem of the show is that when they started off, it was more serious than what we got from the Monsterverse so far. And then I think halfway through they went, well, what are we trying to do? I don't know, like let's just drop the whole thing and just be idiots. I don't know. And I was like, but why? Like, you started off so great. It was honestly like I really enjoyed it. Like, it had a more serious tone. We got to go behind the scenes. It was interesting to follow two timelines, and that it looked like there were stakes because Keiko dies at the very beginning, and you're like, oh Jesus Christ! They're like, oh, okay, they're going for it, and now she's back, and like, oh, she's not dead.
I never thought she was, though.
You think that pilot
Should
guy
have
fell
been.
off? Probably
She
not.
should have been.
No, the pilot guy's gone
Yeah.
because they
Good
blew
old
him
duo.
up. They blew him up. So if he was alive, oops.
At this point, I wouldn't even have been surprised if he returns. Like, he's just there because
Monster
he survived
powers.
somehow.
People will come back to
Right.
life.
The G cells.
Because let's be fair, this is like Keiko survived somehow.
I wanted to see more about the specifics and like Keiko's newly acquired skill set. Like, even if she would have scared away the boar or something with like some flashbang she like rigged together or something, like show that she's surviving based on her own capabilities.
She's a smart lady. She figures it out.
Right. We get some scenes of like her little camp, but I would have liked to seen her show some action of some sort.
Yeah, some of like a few, like an episode dedicated to just her surviving. Kind of like,
Not even a whole episode, just like a scene.
Season 2.
yeah, most likely we'll get some flashbacks. Like,
Or like
Lost.
maybe she had a knife made out of monster parts or something. I don't know. Like
She's got
something.
like a Kong axe that's made out of Godzilla, like splinter or something.
Yeah, toenail.
Ooh.
Godzilla toenail.
So, anyways, we get to the next scene is in Tokyo where Kentaro is talking to Hiroshi, and Hiroshi's kind of trying to explain things, and he's asking Kentaro to basically help him continue, with the search and the pursuit that he's been on, and he explaining everything. He kind of like apologizes for what happens, and there's that bit where Kentaro was like, "I'm not doing nothing for you."
Kentaro is still the best.
Kentaro's pretty great. I like Kentaro. a
Yeah,
lot.
I
Just
like
putting it out
Kentaro.
there.
He could have got more screen time, but yeah,
Oh, yeah.
I do like Kentaro.
Mm-hmm.
He's got a
Because
Great
at least
couple of
he's not
spotlights.
bitching around. Like,
Yeah. Well, in the beginning, again, this is one of the characters that I like the most because the beginning of the show, I was like, I don't know if I like this guy. But then, like, as the show went on, I'm like, this is the dude fucking saving everyone. Like, I don't know. So I'm like, all right, let's go, Kentaro. So I'm
gotta say, really
he's one of my favorite characters
this time around. I mean, obviously that's kind of the highlight of the show, but like the character.
I mean, the show's about the characters.
Yeah,
that's
like
ultimately
the archetypes they represent, the way they interact with each other. All of that has been really fun and interesting. It could have been better.
Mostly.
For some of us, at least.
It's pretty good for Godzilla stuff. Let's be real.
Yeah.
If you hold this up to a mirror of like
on,
Japanese Godzilla films, like,
or any of them.
Or going back to Keiko and Kate, where they finally catch up with May and Shaw. Just thankfully, they just run into each other, and May and Kate embrace each other, and Shaw starts talking to Kate from behind a tree. And this is where Shaw kind of like reveals to Keiko that she's been down there for 50, 60 years. But for her, she says it felt like, or it was only 57 days by her count. So, and it doesn't look like time's passed at all for her. So essentially,
I like this scene a lot.
This was really cool. It was really intense. It was really emotional. I really liked the responses and the acting between Keiko and Shaw. There's a lot of emotion definitely there of this like, what am I thinking? Interstellar kind of realization of like time has jumped drastically for everybody but Keiko. So
him easing her into that realization that he's old shows a tremendous kindness and caring for her.
Because he's always a big mind fuck. Like it's gotta be a big mind fuck. Like I can't even imagine like what is going through her head.
Well, the fact that he's preparing her by telling her like, hey, this is when you fell. This is when I came looking for you. This is what happened to me, which was 20 years later. Now it's been 30 years later, more than that. And then Keiko has that moment of like, you know, there is like a spatial time distortion that's very possible. And then that's when he steps out and like her brain is prepared to see that, okay, he's drastically older now. The time truly has passed.
He preps her by giving her all the information she needs to figure it out. Like it's both him acknowledging just how fucking smart she is, and then also just like that kindness level. It's really clever, like scene framing.
Lily's like, nah, stupid.
No, that part is not stupid. I enjoy that. Also, I will just point it out that I cry on everything. So like I already told you this. Like, you know, it's already a win if you make me cry. Like, I mean, I got a bit emotional, but like I didn't like I think I'm just so dumb with it. I couldn't get emotional. I'm like, I'm still at the, because here's the thing, they are in the Hollow Earth. We already been to the Hollow Earth.
They're not in Hollow Earth.
They're not.
They're not in Hollow Earth.
They're in the world between.
They very
worlds.
specifically state it's not the Hollow Earth.
It's not the land of the Titans.
Oh, come on.
But it also makes more sense of how they're able to get to where they are without getting crushed and killed by all the logic. It's Middle Earth.
Oh, God.
Ye old undertow.
Hey.
Yeah.
It's a land
they
between.
Tried without a physicist available, apparently.
The land before time.
Know.
What?
Just Brandy's losing your marbles.
What? I am losing my mind. I'm tired.
Okay, so God knows where they are anyway. But like, you know,
Access Monday.
If you didn't pick up on it, because I don't think they make it obvious that it's not the same place that they were in Godzilla versus Kong, then it's like, okay, so time passes differently. It didn't do it in that movie, so what the fuck? Like, you know, like how many?
It's a different place.
How many? But how many layers are we gonna, like, you know? Are we gonna say that Earth has like 57
as many
layers
as it takes to keep making more television shows?
That's right.
Right. I guess whatever is most convenient for the plot, right?
I mean, like Stargate SG-1, like we can make up infinite universes to keep making.
Different.
Star Trek,
Stargate is different. It's so different. Like, you know, come on. We are like, they are explaining that it is inside the Earth, basically, or somewhere. I don't know, fuck off. It's like, and I hate that they are making the characters, like, especially Kate, Anna's way. I don't think it's her fault. I think it's the script's fault that she just became so fucking annoying by the end. I was like, stop fucking say everything with crying, like, you know, like
in the last episode.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that was annoying as well. Like, oh, May. Like, fuck off. That's your brother's girlfriend, you
We
fucking
have to
asshole.
find May.
Oh my
She got real attached real quick.
May.
Granted, they survived a tragic
True.
Alaskan incident, which will
But
bring
calm your
people
tits
together.
a little bit.
Yeah, but still.
But still, like, come on. I don't know. I don't know what they did with the characters by the end, but like Kate and May by the end was
I
proper.
didn't really
annoying.
even pay attention to them in this last episode, really.
Mm.
Yeah, I
It
tried
was
not
more
to.
Keiko
I'm
and
okay with that
Shaw
because I was
and
preferring.
Kentaro and Hiroshi. Like, those were the people that I was like focused on in this
Yes,
episode. I
obviously.
don't
You
know.
know who the
But they were
unsung
still
hero
there.
of this whole thing is? Tim.
Mhm.
Tim.
Oh,
Tim
yeah.
is still there going
Time
strong.
Lord. Yeah.
Mhm.
That's right.
Man, I hated that guy.
Some other
But I like him now.
bits in that conversation too is the realization that Billy is gone because Billy's been dead for several years, and Shaw
That
kind
was
of like
heartbreaking.
mentions it,
Yeah.
and she
Mhm.
has like that intense moment, or as Brandy wrote it in the notes, has a holy fuck moment.
Yeah.
After she also is told that Kate is her granddaughter. So there's a lot of like, where's Hiroshi? Oh, Hiroshi's still alive. He's old and he has kids, and this is one of them. Hi. Like, welcome
Holy
to the
fuck.
reality.
That was her
You've
holy
been
fuck
gone for
moment.
60 days, and now you have grandchildren.
I will just quickly add that the moment that Lee shows up and he's all dead, they should have done the whole Kevin Hart bit where Keiko turns around and goes, "Damn!"
Damn! I'm sorry.
I was waiting for that, like, damn!
That would have been really funny.
It's so funny. Oh, yeah, but you're a silver daddy. I don't know. That's like a term
Silver
apparently.
daddy.
I looked it up.
Woo.
It's a real reason Lily's salty. She just wasn't getting enough of her Russell action on screen.
Mhm.
Mm.
I mean, I'm sorry, but what they did with my man is like, fuck off. Assholes.
Just
Anyway.
go watch Ahsoka again. You'll be
Maybe
fine.
he's okay.
Yeah, I will.
You never know.
He'll be fine.
I don't want that either. Like, you know, as I said it, like, where are the stakes of this show? Nowhere, because no one fucking dies, basically.
hmm
But anyway, damn.
Damn.
So back in normal world, I guess, we have Tim talking to Verdugo, and Verdugo is basically telling him to go back to the normal grind after he's like recovering from the last episode and his injuries. And he's just like, you know what? Yeah, Monarch, and you are full of shit, and I'm done. I'm out of here.
Mhm.
So he basically just quits, even though
I think I wrote stupid bullshit in there.
he does. You do have and they're bullshit.
Oh, yeah.
He
they're
says
bullshit.
Shaw was right about Monarch and they're bullshit.
Mhm.
There is that age-old question when it comes to disaster media of like, do we save, the entire population, or do we save the people closest to us?
Yeah,
So
but
that's kinda
Tim
what
is
they're like.
making the point. Like, there's obviously someone there
Right,
that
yeah.
knows what the fuck they're doing. And these people could potentially save the 6 billion people or 7 billion people, however many damn idiots there are on this planet. But I mean, yeah, Tim had the right idea. Why the fuck not?
Shin Godzilla does this way better about like the bureaucracy of
Yeah.
managing
Yeah.
disasters, but there's some elements of that here.
Is it bad that I kind of want something to happen to Verdugo?
Mm.
I don't know
No,
why.
I don't think so. She's
Okay.
asking for it.
Yeah,
I
Tim makes the
mean-
point about like trying to pursue the signal coming up from below from the rifts, because he's trying to say that there's somebody down there that's, obviously
Knows the shit.
something's going on and we should be pursuing this. And that's where he has that kind of aha moment of like, okay, Monarch is just sitting on their asses, not really doing anything
Time to
constructive.
do something. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So then we go back into Axis Mundi, the in-between lands, the not Hollow Earth, and
Middle Earth.
Middle Earth, as you will. I think that just irritates Lily even more.
I know. I'm sorry.
Don't bring
She,
in
shake,
Tolkien here.
she
like-
shakes her head every time I say it.
I just assumed it was Hollow Earth. I was none the wiser.
Well, that was kind of our
There
assumption
you go.
too, but
Yeah.
There you go.
anyways. we see Shaw, and he sees the gamma emitter that Keiko has repurposed to make the signal to boost out, to like try to bring people to find her. And that's where he's saying like, wait, if we can wire this back to the way it was, we can use it to get out of here. And that's where they get like on mission to essentially go to Shaw's original dropship, which is still there because it hasn't been that long since he was there.
Just a few weeks.
Yeah. And they have to haul the original emitter back over there and have Keiko rewire it, which is all very easily handled, easy enough, easy peasy.
Mm-hmm.
Just why not?
I'm surprised they didn't need May for this fixing of the thingy. Because she's the like extremely smart programmer.
They've
person.
got Keiko.
They're like, you guys are done now. You're going to be over here.
Yeah.
I
We'll
just
let
wish
you
it
know
was
if we
more of a
need you.
collaborative effort
Be
aside
quiet.
from the packing the thing around.
Yeah.
That's just the writers being like, oh yeah, we have other characters here. Who the fuck cares?
I mean, I think it's fair for Keiko to get her time and her spotlight in the setting, so I'm okay with it. Honestly, I'm over May. I'm over Kate. I'm good with Keiko just being kind of the star now.
This is the scene where I wish they would have focused a little more about her survival situation, because we see her smoking meat and have like a little camp and stuff.
And she's got like that.
She don't have much for 2 months.
She's got a canteen made out of something like a gourd.
Got a gourd. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm sorry. She's just my hero.
But she's really cool. I just wish that they honed in on that just a little more.
Yeah.
Make her a little more heroic.
Yeah.
She's just
Or
smart.
scrappy.
Smart women are
Or
sexy.
even some sort of nod of like Shaw being like, I see you've put to test my survival skills I was teaching you all those years that I've never mentioned until right now.
Mhm.
Something like that.
She didn't need no man to tell her.
I was thinking it.
I'm sorry.
It's fair.
So I'm going to skip over this part real quick. We get the scene where Hiroshi is moving out of their apartment in Tokyo with Kentaro and Kentaro's mother. Kentaro's mom has this good moment of like, this boy needs his father. You better stay in touch with him. You better be a father to him. But bye-bye.
Like,
We're
no
done.
matter what you did to me,
like,
he needs his dad.
like, of course, Kentaro's
also
mom,
like this
who's been like our favorite mom of ever.
Yeah, she's
still
so
going
amazing.
strong.
It's obvious to me that he met Kate's mom first. And then when he was
Kate's
in
older.
Tokyo, when he was in Tokyo with Shaw, when Shaw came back, that's when it seems like that's when he met Kentaro's mom, because she was just the sweetest freaking little nurse. And like, he said he couldn't help falling in love with her. And I'm like, I get that.
Yeah.
She's awesome.
And make baby quickly.
Yeah.
Make baby.
Kindness in this
I mean,
show.
why not?
Why not?
Like some really, really heartwarming, caring moments between characters.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they do pretty good with that amongst all the other nonsense.
Nonsense.
Yeah.
So then we cut to Kentaro, who's back at his favorite bar. He's drinking some whiskey, and he has this little flashback about May, and then shows up as Tim. Like, hey, Tim, welcome back, Tim.
Hi,
He's
Tim.
just there like he does. Tim just appears, because I even said Tim the Time Lord when he just appeared in the bar.
Time
It's
Lord.
just everywhere. I love this bar. This is the type of thing I would go to. I like really
Tim
chill spots.
Tim said that Kentaro's mom told him where he'd be. I'm like,
He's a Time Lord. We know him,
he already knows
There's no
where
need to lie.
Kentaro is.
Yep.
Yeah.
So he tells Kentaro about what he's trying to get at. Like he's starting to hint at it. And of course, Kentaro's just like, what are you doing here? I don't really want anything to do with you. But he's like, someone is in the rifts and we need to find out who it is. And he says, we need to talk to Hiroshi. And of course, Kentaro just told off Hiroshi, basically. That he wants nothing to do with him. So back down into the Middle Earth, we have Shaw and Keiko having this moment and sharing just some memories. And Shaw's having this like, you're exactly the way I remember you. And Keiko's like, it's been 2 months for me, but all of a sudden everything has changed. My life is gone. I've lost everything. Shaw's old, Billy's gone, her kid's grown up, she's got grandkids now, she just missed everything. But Shaw explains that, Billy at least saved Monarch and they kept Monarch alive. And then he talks about what's going on in the future now, essentially explaining like things that have happened and changed. I thought that was a really interesting moment. And I'm glad they kind of squeezed that in there, because I appreciated that with Shaw kind of like just breaking down some of the finer elements of the world is different. but it's still
the same.
The same. And Keiko has these kind of like eye bulging moments hearing about
it's like just have gadgets, a lot of gadgets.
And this was the best scene.
You think so?
To be fair. Yeah, it was the best scene of the entire episode.
It was very heartfelt. It was very interesting the way like Shaw was really like explaining things to Keiko, and Keiko was just like, I don't know what to do. And he's like, well, it's not really that different, you know? Just gadgets.
He's really good about easing her into things.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I think he's always been good at that though. Yeah. But I like the fact that like he was like, you know, the thing that is like Billy saved the thing that you and he created. And she's like, no, the three of us created this. She brought him back in because I guess in a way he felt on the outs in some ways. But
he probably
she's
feels
like,
responsible
no, it's
for
a
almost
three.
Destroying it too, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But she's like, no, it was the three of us that made this.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought that was really cool.
So in a fun little twist too, when we come back to present day, we see Hiroshi is watching the Bill Randa videos that of John Goodman. It's like, oh, okay, we got a little bit more John Goodman. Like it's still the same footage, but he makes a comeback around. And this is where Tim and Kentaro show up, and Tim is trying to explain to Hiroshi about the signal coming out, and he's just kind of like, oh yeah, I already know about this. And he's like, no, this is a consistent signal. And he's like, wait, consistent? Okay, so it starts to coherent is the actual word. It's a coherent signal. And that's what makes Hiroshi start to realize, like, okay, this is something I missed, and it does mean something.
But he also got pissed because it was like Tim's giving him hope, and that was like he was like, "This is just fucking cruel," basically.
Right, and he's like, "And I don't trust Monarch. I don't trust you. I don't, Monarch's not going to help us in any way." And then Tim's like, "Well, that's good because I quit. Obviously, like I'm not with Monarch anymore." Or as Brandy put in here, Tim says Monarch won't help, but it's not the only game in town. Dun dun dun.
We have friends in low places with a lot of money.
Yeah, he does mention that, like, there's other people that can help. And I immediately was like, I think I know who he's talking about.
Apex. Yeah.
It's like, I know who he's talking about.
I actually didn't. I thought there was going to be some third, like, faction or something.
There was a moment where I was thinking about, like, the terrorist organizations from, like, King of the Monsters. But it's like, that's a bit of a stretch.
Or maybe, like, Duval somewhere, like, with her, ninjas. I don't know.
The Monarch Renegades.
Jawhead for a while.
Yeah.
Her elite force of assassin women. I don't know.
So this is then we get the scene where Keiko is trying to explain to the gang about Axis Monday. And she says, this isn't the world of the Titans. It's more of a world between worlds. Or Brandy put Middle Earth. Haha. Rabbit hole. But this is also, they
talk about a rabbit hole, yeah.
She's very specific that this isn't the world of the Titans, so not Hollow Earth. They didn't go all the way through. It's different.
How does she know about Hollow Earth?
She didn't say it wasn't Hollow Earth, but she does.
But like it implies, like it's not.
She said it's not the world of the Titans. It's an in between.
How does she know?
She probably hasn't seen a whole lot of like actual like big ass Titans.
There's also like the giant gateway that's kind of just hanging out there.
Just chilling.
Yeah, but just making that assumption is like, how?
I mean, she could have.
It is a bit of a leap.
Yeah,
but if they legitimately like purposely were like, okay, there's Hollow Earth and then there's this other thing and then there's Earth. Like, hopefully that gets tossed about in the next Godzilla movie or a season 2 or something.
It's like, we need the laziest way to have Keiko survive, to give mystery to show of like, why doesn't he look his age and, whatever. And we can do Hollow Earth because, like, we didn't introduce the whole time moves differently there. So let's create something else that was, never even mentioned once. And I would assume that if this exists, then when Hollow Earth comes up, then it would have been mentioned in a way. So they just kind of shoot it in like, yeah, this is going to work. This is how we're going to save this character. And I'm like, what?
Yeah, why not?
But what the fuck? Like, again, started off so great. And I'm like, we weren't even moving in this direction. Like, you know, there were so many theories of what the end game is going to be, like how it's going to connect to the maybe the
movies,
future movies and whatever. And we never got there. Like halfway through, we abandoned the whole Kate and Kentaro was looking for Hiroshi thing. And then suddenly it was like, okay, now we're doing whatever. We're just going to stick around because this looks interesting. And I'm like,
this could be fun.
I mean, it still sets itself up to tie into the movies in subsequent seasons if they're going to continue doing the show.
Yeah, finally, it gets there. It's just a weird route to get to that point.
Roundabout.
I mean, they got to do with what they can in a 10-episode series, and make things work, but also make it interesting and
goofy fun.
There's a lot of things that this series does great, but I don't think it's
I think Lily might be just too far gone at this point.
Well, because you can do it in a way, because you have, like, at this point, how many movies? You have Godzilla, Kong, Godzilla versus Kong, the
two main Godzilla movies, Kong, and then the Godzilla X Kong movies.
Yeah. So you have those to work with. And that makes it easier in a way because you have certain things that you already established that you can insert these characters into. And if you introduce things, because this is playing in the past, relatively speaking, if we look at the movie timeline, that were never even mentioned in those movies, you're like, what? So these guys, like basically the creators of Monarch, they were never mentioned. Randa never mentions Keiko or Lee Shaw in the Kong movie. There's not even anything about them in there. So it's like,
I just think about it. They've manufactured a lot over the years with these movies, because in Godzilla 2014, we had Monarch. That's it. That was the only thing that was mentioned and established in that movie was Monarch, that there was a government association about monsters. That's it. Then it wasn't until Godzilla King of the Monsters where all of a sudden there's Hollow Earth theory, there's more to do with Monarch, and then with Kong, that was its own separate thing that established like Bill Randa as one of the center cores of Monarch. But it still didn't talk about Hollow Earth. It didn't talk about anything outside of that. I mean, it kind of loosely hints at it with like the skull crawlers a little bit. Yeah. But I imagine that it was during that time period that the people that are handling the Monsterverse with Legendary were just like, okay, we want to do the Marvel thing. We want to make an interconnected universe that we can branch everything out and have everything tie back together. And they probably just started saying like, okay, with each movie, we got to figure out ways that can tie into different subsequent movies and or series. And like, I don't think it's too ridiculous. I think it's
but here's the thing. It has so
I remember
many
scoffing at Godzilla versus Kong with the Hollow Earth. I'm like, what the fuck is this bullshit? Like,
oh yeah, for sure.
But I'm fine with it now.
The movies, this show they're doing after the fact, so it's kind of like, okay, they're trying to tie things the best way they can.
Yeah, but they created more plot holes than they had before. Like, because Randa says that they think that they have tunnel systems. Based on this series, he should know that it is more than that, because he was there when Keiko disappeared. He was there when Shaw disappeared and went into the whatever Earth at this point. I don't know. So he should be, because if you look back at the Kong movie, it doesn't make sense that he says like, we have tunnels and that's the theory. And I'm like, you know exactly like what this is, because apparently you've been working on it with Keiko and Lee based on this series. So I'm like, hello, why didn't we pay attention to this part of the whole thing? Like, including characters that later appear in a movie that already came out, and then changing their storyline, you create plot holes.
My ultimate takeaway from this is we would feel far differently had this show come out in 2018 instead of now.
Oh, 100%.
Probably, yeah.
If this led into King of the Monsters, it would have been incredible, because then we were like, oh, cool, big apocalyptic event is on the way. Also, Kong is back. Cool. Yeah. And he's bigger. Whoa. For some reason, I think this show is just, much like its story, a moment misplaced in time. Because if this had come out before King of the Monsters, it would have been a really excellent way to go into that movie. Trying to retroactively fit this into the timeline, it's a harder task that they almost achieved and just didn't really.
But even then, to accomplish that, what they would have had to have done, like I was getting at earlier, they were probably only then starting to create these threads of plots that like they're now trying to insert this show into, which they probably hadn't even considered writing most of this stuff, back in those days of creating those movies originally.
I mean, COVID happened, so all the production shit went all wibbly wobbly, so who knows?
But I digress. Let's carry on here because I completely lost my place where we were. We were talking about Keiko explaining that this isn't, this is not the world of the Titans, that this is the world in between. She calls it Axis Mundi, and there's that moment of like, oh, okay, it's that land of heaven and hell, or between heaven and hell. So there's a little bit of this, they're intertwining a little bit of like Japanese lore into that, which is
mythology.
Interesting because, Godzilla movies, Japanese movies have done that a lot in the past.
Super Japanese show too.
It is very, very heavily, Japanese cast, Japanese writers, Japanese production staff, everything. So there's also this part where Keiko is talking about staying behind because she's missed so much. They're trying to prepare the shuttle with the emitter, and Keiko gets frustrated and she's just like, no, I'm not going back because I've missed too much. There's no point in me going back. And Kate kind of stands up and has another one of these like, I shall be heard moments like she did last episode, the episode before, where she starts talking out of nowhere and everybody stops what they're doing. A school teacher.
Yep.
And she's like, no, you have to come home because I've lost too much. Like, all right, fair enough.
She's basically like, okay, no, this curse is done. The curse of my family is done. You're coming home. Like, oh, okay. All right.
So then we have them activating the emitter to get it to call in a Titan. Shaw gives them a quick little summary of how this works. We call a Titan in and we're able to ride it out of here, essentially. They turn it off before it gets too close, so then they just follow it back through the portal. But unfortunately, there is another Titan already there with them in Axis Mundi. So that kind of throws a big, fat old kaiju-sized lump into the plan. The emitter gets knocked loose, and then Titan comes through, and then Shaw gets out to reconnect the emitter. I'm sorry, I have to quote what Brandy wrote here. She wrote, "Stress, stupid dragon bat Titan asshole." Decides that he's going to start coming at them and messing with their shit. And
is that the same dragon we saw at the beginning of the show?
It looks like it.
It's pretty similar.
I'm curious to at least do some photo comparisons and see if it's the same dragon, or at least one of that kind, if they're like in a family of that kind of monster.
Just a species rather than like an individual.
Yeah, exactly.
That was not hugging.
I don't think she said hug.
No, I said fuck.
Oh!
This one.
This kind of hugging. Got it.
Throwback.
Yeah. That's the one.
I'm glad you clarified. There's a lot of different types.
Yeah, exactly.
So in the same,
she said hugged. I was like, that was not a hug.
In the same vein as the episode when
I'm naughty like you.
Go down, they call in the Kaiju, they see it coming, but then the emitter gets knocked loose, so they start losing it, and that's where the big panic is to reconnect it. And Shaw barely manages. He finally gets it reconnected, and then sure enough, guess who comes through the rift? But Godzilla. And it's a pretty awesome freaking shot of him coming stepping out through the rift.
He's beautiful.
That's my boy.
Godzilla roared.
They feed him good. Look at him.
They fed him good.
He's so
big beefy boy.
And he gets violent.
I love
this.
That
Was
lizard.
An awesome scene, and I said to Brandy afterwards, I compare this scene as to like a micro version of the Battle of Godzilla versus the Mutos in 2014.
That's funny because I thought of the fight in Antarctica against Ghidorah, because in that scene there's a lot of shots of like them almost hitting the humans, and then it's from like that perspective looking up. And so that, like, from the way it's choreographed, that's what it reminded me of for this one.
I was taking it more from the front of that, like Godzilla is very aggressive immediately with this bat fucker, as Brandy says, and like quickly in the beginning of the fight, the bat like attacks him and bites his neck, and he rips something off of it, either its foot or its tail, and then it spits in his face. And then he rips one of its wings off. He does like the kiss of death, basically, like almost immediately. He's winding up the fire breath. I'm like, oh, we're going to get at least one fire blast in this show. And it was very close to that, where he's just, blasting down on.
Also important to note, this isn't Godzilla sizing up an eagle. This is him taking out a pest.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. You just immediately, you're done. You're squashed.
Yep. Also convenient for television because it was like 5 minutes long.
Well, this also gave me the hope of what I would like to see come from the show, if not the movie series. I want a series of movies of just Godzilla fucking up other monsters. That's what I want as a Godzilla fan. I want this show to be a teeny tiny sneak preview foreshadowing of what to expect in the future of the Monsterverse.
I want what we had in the 80s with slashers, but it's Godzilla. He's just running around, kicking the shit out of anything that moves.
Yeah, give me that. I'm
into that. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's what I hoped. Quote of Brandy's: Shaw runs, but there is too much weight, so he lets go. I am unhappy. Dick Bat ruined everything, but we got a brilliant Godzilla fight. End quote.
I agree with past Brandy.
Yes. Yeah, that upset me. But like he threw the wing, like Godzilla threw the wing into the rift, and that's what made the pod start going. Like it wasn't Godzilla going back through the rift. It was
it's kind of like it created the suction of the rift to pull everything in. So of course Shaw starts chasing after the pod, and he's trucking, and Keiko's going, "Run, Forrest, run!" And it's, of course, you're already like, yeah, this is how this is going to go down. Shaw's going to be the one that gets left behind when Keiko wanted to be kept behind. Which, at least with that, I like this moment of they were in a reverse angle to each other from when Keiko fell. It was kind of like the same shot where she's holding onto him and he's looking up at her in the opposite. And he just has that like really big smile on his face. He's like, it's fine. I'm sorry, but everything's okay
just
now.
Said,
like,
thank you. Yeah. And I'm like, I just broke.
I think it was somebody at Escapist that wrote about the dualities of this series when the first couple episodes came out. There's a lot of like mirroring going on throughout the entire thing thematically.
Monarch.
I mean, the Monarch logo, is like the Infinity logo.
Are you reading my notes?
No, I'm pausing for anyone else and watching Lily's smile. Just
dramatic effect.
I can't. Like,
she's mad about Shaw.
Yeah.
I know that. How'd you feel about that Godzilla fight?
It was good. Like, very good. But,
the climax of the entire show.
They can't anymore. Like,
sat through
that's why he got
10 episodes for that.
Took me 2 months to get here. It was pretty good, but
again. Never mind. I can't get into it again. I'm like, what the fuck?
I'm hoping.
At this point, it's a possibility that he survived somehow.
Yeah, absolutely. You can look at it from the Keiko effect. He could be alive.
Ride out on Godzilla's back,
like Woody,
with a cowboy hat.
It's
happen. Go get him, Gojira.
Like Throne did on the Purgles.
Yes. In his assless chaps. Damn it.
Yeah,
that's right.
Gotcha.
He's gonna come right.
It would be so stupid.
Rolling through that rift. But that's the thing, is it now it opens up that opportunity. So he gets left behind. The pod comes back. We know time moves differently there. He can be perfectly fine, and he either pops back out in a little bit of time, or they go looking for him, and he's just like, "Hey guys, you've been gone 15 minutes. What took you so long?" He
wants robot butlers. He's gonna wait. He'll wait for a while. He said he did.
So to close us out of this show, we see the pod landing in a very specific location surrounded by lights and some futuristic looking tech. And we're like, immediately, my first thought is, okay, somebody was waiting for them. Who was waiting for them, and how long has it been? And sure enough, they're immediately approached by Kentaro, of all people. And it's very much like, oh, hey, welcome back. We missed you guys. Woo! So happy to see you. Yeah, they have this sweet sibling hug. Kentaro hugs May. Kentaro explains that it was Hiroshi that had done the math to help them get there. And it's like, oh, okay, Kentaro and Hiroshi are all buddy-buddy now.
Hiroshi's very happy to see Kate.
Yes, of course, because
obviously they think she's dead.
This is the big character emotional payoff.
Yeah, the whole legacy is coming together now. We're getting the whole family coming back together. We have got the start of the show was Kate finding Kentaro looking for, Hiroshi, them looking for Hiroshi. Now they're back together. And then you also bring in Grandma into the scene because you've got Keiko who's still alive, and you have Hiro saying Mama in like almost like a child-esque, like very almost infantile manner, which
I think one almost got me.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, he hasn't seen her since he was like 10,
a child,
not even 10. He would have been like 7 or 6 or something the last time he saw her. My only throw off in that is I would have expected him to say the Japanese word for mother, like casa, instead. Like that felt a little off to me because they typically speak Japanese to each other, and I don't know. It works either way. As Brandy put, full snot cry. She says, "I'm so sorry," over and over and over. So much snot. I know, Brandy. I looked at Brandy. I was like about to say something to her while we're watching. She is just like,
he looks over at me and he's like, "Did you make tea?" As I'm like full snot cry, and I'm like, "The fuck, dude! I'm having an emotional moment, and you're like, did you make tea?"
Didn't realize I was interrupting you.
My favorite line comes up here in a second.
Yeah, go ahead.
This is the best line. So the best line in the whole thing is, the Hiroshi gets with his mom and, they have that moment. But the best part of the entire situation in this is Kate turns to them and she goes, "Grandma, I'd like you to meet my brother." She acknowledges the fact that is her brother and that they're a family now, despite them being like at odds the entire time. And so that was a really good one. It's one of my favorite lines in the whole like episode.
Yeah, that was very impactful that she's just very specifically like, "This is my brother."
Yeah. And I like Keiko's face like, holy shit, I have 2 grandkids. Like,
my boy has been busy, and I don't know yet that he did it with 2 women and had 2 separate families.
She will scold him soon.
Can she really judge him though?
No, not really.
Yeah, she can.
Yeah,
sure.
She can. I mean, she never fucked Sean for all we know. So, or Randa, because it's not Randa's kid.
That's true. They don't know if she actually did or not.
He does refer to them as our children at one point.
He does.
But he was talking about May and Kate, though.
Yeah, I know that you could take it both ways, but. Yeah.
So to quote Brandy in the next part, she says, "Apex bitch shows up, shitballs."
Here's another plot hole. Just gonna put it out there. What the fuck is Apex doing on Kong's Island? What?
We don't know. We're gonna have to stay tuned to season 2 to find out.
Season 2, because from all we know from Godzilla vs. Kong, Monarch has been there for like, I don't know, years at that point, because
they have that research.
They have a partnership. Wait, hold on. There is a plot point in one of the previous episodes where Monarch sets up a deal with Apex. So that's probably part of it, why they're there. That Apex helps Monarch construct the site on Kong Island. Or Skull Island, I'm sorry. Maybe.
It's a possibility.
Lily's just like, nope, it's
sure
dumb
would
fucking
be convenient. Nice helicopter, though.
Might as well.
A sweet helicopter. But yes, that's the big reveal that this is Apex here. The alarms are going off, and they're like, we got to get out of here. And they pull back out, and then who do we see? Fucking Kong. It's like next season of Monarch, Legacy of Kong. Big monkey. Tom's gonna be happy.
Conky Dong himself.
Conky Dong.
And this is in 2017 because they say it's 2 years has passed since they originally went into the rift. So we're now in 2017, which is 2 years before King of the Monsters, but it's the year Kong Skull Island came out.
Yeah.
So perfect time to set up for a second season leading up to King of the Monsters.
Yeah. I want to go watch all the movies again.
I mean, maybe if they were to do a second season, if it were to take place simultaneously while the world is going to shit in King of the Monsters, that could be really interesting. Because there's a lot of monsters and stuff happening that we don't see in that film.
Yeah. What was Kong doing during that film?
Right. We never knew. We never heard
the big mammoth thing, spider thing, there's a few.
But we see those.
Right. But
in the movie.
What were they doing before that, though?
Well, we didn't see Kong sleeping.
I'm really surprised they didn't lean into the Ghidorah stuff in this one. Honestly, like
maybe they're saving that for the next season. It could be.
maybe. As far as I've read, is they haven't confirmed a second season yet.
Yeah.
They probably will. It's the most popular thing that Apple, I think, has put out in a long time.
Yeah, I need to double check the metrics, but I've been hearing that it's one of the best rated, like the highest.
And as far as like the amount of money that the Monsterverse makes collectively is astronomical, especially at the global box office.
Mm-hmm.
It's crazy how this is all blown up. Like me as a little, my little Godzilla Kaiju fan over here, like 10 years ago, I was like, I want Godzilla. And now there's like a shitload, and it's one of the biggest things, man. One of the biggest things. I like read a book. Yeah. Since the last time I was on this show about Godzilla. Like there's so many things that you can interact with in this franchise. And it's the best time to be into it because we have Godzilla -1, excellent. Shin Godzilla in 2016, excellent. There's the Monsterverse stuff. There's a lot, and it's all interesting and fun and different. Like the Reiwa era of Godzilla, the little shorts and everything that they make. It's all so cool. Good stuff. Yeah, I love how much fun they're just taking everything in like ridiculous, crazy directions. But we had to wrap up this episode, and to do so, we need to give our episode rating for the season finale of Monarch Legacy of Monsters.
I'll give it an 8. It's all right. Pacing of the episode was pretty good. Wish that there was a couple things here and there, but you know what? This was the most, monster-filled episode, so it's a good one.
How about you, Lily?
Go, Lily. Just do it. Yeah.
Fine. I don't even know. 7, but only because Godzilla was there. I have too much salt in my system to give anything higher to it. I'm not gonna lie. And the fact that it didn't get me emotional, like, there were no tears for me, which is a usual occurrence if something emotional happens. That says a lot.
I'm not usually very emotional, but this one got me.
Yeah, but I am. Like, I cry at everything. Like, if they do it right,
the salt runs too thick in her veins to cry.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And I didn't cry. And I think that's a bad sign for the show because I didn't cry. I'm just going to put it out there. So 7.
Well, it made me cry. So I was going to give it a 10, but Shaw died. So I'll give it a 9.
Did he die, though?
I don't know.
You don't know.
He fell.
He fell.
He fell.
And he somehow survived.
He fell.
This is Hollywood. Anything could happen. Who knows?
Palpatine somehow returned. Like,
I
kind of shit.
Fun.
That's the thing. Like, I can't.
I know like, you didn't, but I did. No. So that's
because they started off serious, and then they decided that we're no longer going to be serious, and they went into the direction where they just like doing things, and I'm like, sure, yeah, fuck it all, I guess. So yeah, that's my biggest salt with it. Like, this could have been, as I said, like a really fun look more into the Monarch stuff. I don't even think that we needed this many monsters that we got at the end, like, encounters and everything could have worked. But
would you have preferred if the show was just a really hard, like, just down the arrow, like, dramatic story about Monarch and the like the whole like the politics of Monarch,
like a docu-series on Monarch?
Yeah, because it like, if you think really about it, why is it boring?
I mean, I like documentaries.
They started off like that.
It wouldn't be a real documentary, though.
As I said, docu-series, a mockumentary.
But they started off like that. Like, if they would have kept with the tone of the first 2 episodes, I would have been much happier with this.
Even with the tone of Keiko getting sucked away by a bunch of little cockroach monsters.
Yeah, because it's part of it. Like, it's part of how they discover things and whatnot. Like, I didn't have a problem with those scenes because it's like, it's them discovering that there are a whole entire world that we don't know anything about, and it made sense. And those were the most interesting parts. Like, how did they come to know about Godzilla? How did they come to know about the Titans? How did they get where they are? And by the end, it was just like
Fuck it all.
Yeah, fun. Yeah.
Well, we can go over all this too when we do our wrap up episode and go really into the nitty gritty of it all. But yeah, like I have my qualms with it, but it wasn't that stuff. Like for me, this episode is probably, I want to say like a 9 because Godzilla's fight scene alone was pretty awesome. And like, I'm easily won over with that. I love the scenes with Keiko. Like Keiko is just so badass. I love her. She's one of my favorite parts of the show. And I'm honestly happy that a lot of the other garbage that we haven't been liking about the show has been kind of pushed to the side. Like I'm fine with Kate and May just being like over here. It's like, you're there. We don't need you right now. That's fine. Kentaro kind of took a more of a center point. He seems like he's more prominent in the new timeline as well as what's going to happen in the future. If we see that ever, I'm already thinking about where Kentaro is going to be going forward, what he's going to be a part of going forward. If he's like Hiroshi's like right-hand man with stuff that we're doing things with Apex, maybe that leans into what happens with Apex in the future. I don't know.
Ooh.
There's a lot of interesting things that they could do with this. Not going to go into like the full bore of the entire show, but I enjoyed this episode. I'm ultimately pretty happy with like what they did overall, and I'm glad that it leaned into the silly a little bit because I like the silliness. That's why I'm a Godzilla fan. I wouldn't be a Godzilla fan if I didn't like the silliness. I'm not saying that it couldn't have been a little bit more serious, to your point, Lily. I'm sure in that universe where we had that version of the show stay on that track, it could have been good in its own right, but also have its own faults. But
I like the fact
because
that everyone
has
has their own opinion and their own things that they enjoyed or didn't like about the series. Like that to me said, I don't know. That to me is
how many
like
people are watching the show and complaining that
it's-
there's not enough monsters in the show?
Yeah.
It's like, well, it's not about monsters.
It's not about the monsters.
God bless those set designers, though. They really like knocked it out of the park. A lot of the locale and settings were super
Everything's it's a gorgeous and like well done like series.
Yeah.
Like
You can see how
they
much of their
really
budget
went
they
all
put
out.
into that last episode with that fight scene with Godzilla. Like that
It's
was
made.
intense.
It's beautiful
Well
to look
produced.
at when the actors are great. So there's a lot going for it, and then I kind of feel like that they dropped the ball. And I would just like to point out that when we live in a time where we have a movie like Godzilla -1, who's more of a serious toned movie, then I think a more serious toned Monarch series would have worked very easily.
I don't think it's fair to compare it to -1 though, as they're set in a different Monsterverse. Like the
Obviously,
the Legendary Monsterverse is the silly, goofy one though.
But when you can get like
perspectives
a
on
movie like
story,
like -1, and it's a Godzilla movie at the end of the day.
I think that's the biggest surprise of this whole thing is -1 is incredible. Like it is definitely the thing to go out and see if you have any interest at all in, Godzilla.
In the inverse of that though, if you don't like serious Godzilla movies, you're not going to like -1. If you're like, this is weird because it's too serious, like it's going to put you off. If you're here for the wackiness, but to each their own. Like I personally enjoy and consume all of Godzilla content just because I've grown up watching it and I've grown up
I like all of it.
watching the silly with the serious. I remember watching the original Godzilla movie in 1985, which are hyper serious, but then you've got all the in between 60s and 70s goofiness, which I still love to this day, even though they're
Space Godzilla,
I love Space Godzilla. He's such a cool design.
And then of course you got like Godzilla
Monsterverse
Jr. in that one, which was
no.
no. There's Godzilla Jr. and Space Godzilla where he's like the baby,
Okay.
and then in Destroya he's almost full size Godzilla.
He's like a half-size Godzilla.
Little halfsies. Anyway, I digress. The show is come to a conclusion. We have one more episode of Monarch Files to go. We're going to do our final summary of the entire series. And I don't know, like, Lily, are you going to be able to make it through?
Sure. I'm just going to explode.
I love you,
That's fine.
Lily.
I love it too. It's okay.
We can have different
I
opinions.
do.
It's fine.
It's fine.
It was
We can't
fun.
all love the same thing. So like,
Right.
Yeah.
So next week, look forward to the Monarch Files therapy session.
Right.
All that family
Thought explosion.
therapy
The
and
family
drama.
drama.
I've had more fun with this because of y'all.
Good.
So we'll say that.
Yay.
Aw, that's nice.
All right. Before we close it out, Alex, did you have anything you want to throw out there? I don't know if you've got anything going on currently that you want to promote.
Nothing in the immediate future except for go check out foreverclassicgames.com. We're in the planning stage for 2024 right now, and we'll soon have our accolades for last year because I like to give December some room just in case something wacky comes out in December. So look forward to that. And generally, we're just kind of keeping on.
So thank you, Alex, for joining us for these episodes of this show. It's been a pleasure having you around with us and adding your theories, thoughts, and feelings to the general discussions that we've been having. And you can catch us every Tuesday at 2 p.m. PST on Couch Soup's YouTube channel. And you can even catch us a day early if you're a member at couchsoup.com. But ultimately, we hope to see you guys again for next week for our last final breakdown episode, where we're going to cover the entire series and how we feel about it as a whole. With that, thank you, Brandy. Thank you, Alex. Thank you, Lily. Be sure to visit couchsoup.com to feed your hungry kaiju soul. So long. Godzilla noise.
Bye-bye, everybody.
I'm gonna go and do the other podcast.
Yeah, bye.
Yeah.
All right, take care, you guys. I'm gonna see you next
Bye.
week.
Lily's just like, fuck you all, I'm out.
Bye.